Welcome, everybody, to the Off the Wall Hockey Show. It's a hockey show for hockey fans, part of the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. And we are on episode 47, as we have another week of NHL action under our belts and a lot more to talk about. With our top stories, all of our usual segments, and a lot of great NHL action this week. Don't forget that this show is sponsored by Manscaped. You can check out Manscaped.com to see all the fantastic products that they have available for all your male grooming needs. And you can get 20% off and free shipping using the promo code OTWH. Make sure you get that promo code in there. They have a site-wide holiday sale right now. But for this show to actually get credit for it, you've got to use OTWH. So X out the holiday sale, use our promo code, and you get 20% off plus free shipping on your order. And we are very, very appreciative of that, as you help out this channel and this show quite a bit when you do that.
Yes, please.
Certainly would be greatly appreciated as we get into the holidays, and gift-giving season is certainly here. Keep Manscaped in mind. Steel, back again as the co-host, as usual, and we got a whole other new week of NHL action to talk about. You ready to go for this one?
Oh, man, I'm here to tell you, I am all good. I'm moving, grooving, looking good, and feeling good. And, man, there's been a lot of stuff going on in the NHL this week, and a lot of stuff going on here at the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. John, thank you for all you do. Thank you for all the work you put in, man. This show just would not be what it is if it wouldn't be for you, John, and all the hard work you do. You're the one that makes it go. Basically, I just show up with my notes.
Yeah.
And John, so thank you very much for doing that, man. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And because we appreciate that, we are sponsored by Manscaped.com. That's right, just in time for the holidays. Go check out Manscaped.com and get your 20% off. Just close the X there on the gift when you get to the checkout area. When you go to type in your name and address, close that little X gift box and type in OTWH. You'll still get the same amount off on your order, and plus still free shipping. That's the entire order. So go check out Manscaped.com. Thank you very much for them for sponsoring the show. So really appreciate that. And John, very much appreciate all the hard work you do, and can't wait to get into the entire NHL. Oh my gosh!
Well,
Holy moly!
Let's do it. Let's get into the top stories here. The number one things going on around the NHL right now.
Yeah.
And to lead things off, holy cow, we've certainly had some changes this week for not just one organization, but two. Following in the Montreal Canadiens' footsteps, another struggling team, the Vancouver Canucks, also cleaned house. We have another team that's made a major change as well that we'll get into in just a second. But holy cow, there's a lot going on. And Vancouver, GM Jim Benning, gone. Head coach Travis Green, gone. They fired two more from the front office today. So they got a couple more guys gone from the front office. Bruce Boudreau has come in as their new head coach. And Jim Rutherford,
Jim Rutherford.
Hired as their new president of hockey operations. So he's also acting as interim GM, but they're searching for a new full-time GM. But Rutherford comes in to take over hockey ops the same way that Jeff Gorton did in Montreal. That's a lot of moves in a very short period of time here for Vancouver, who are completely changing things around after another very disappointing start to the season.
He just very well might be that might be the very perfect fit up there, especially with Rutherford, man. That was a really savvy move, I think, by them to get those guys together for their team. I think that's going to point that ship in the right direction. How can it not?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can only go but up.
There's certainly no getting worse for Vancouver.
And what happens when Bruce Boudreau comes out and coaches their first game, they win.
They've
Hey,
won
what
their
do you
first
know?
two. Yeah, they've won their first two games now with Bruce Boudreau, so they're getting the classic new coach boost here in Vancouver.
But he's also a different message.
Yeah, big time.
A big time different message. Do you know what I mean? And so that just gives things a whole different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking at the team from a different way than what the previous group was looking at it as.
Mm-hmm.
He was sitting at the desk being an analyst, so the fact that he's now a coach, okay, and he was a coach before, and he has a pretty darn good winning percentage as well as a coach.
He's been a very good coach
as far as regular season. Now,
not in the playoffs, but
his only knock is just that he hasn't been able to win a lot of playoff games, which is kind of odd when you look at who he's coached.
Yeah. Washington, Anaheim, Minnesota. He hasn't been able to win playoff games, but he's been extremely successful in the regular season.
Exactly.
For Vancouver, I mean, that's just that. Let's take one step at a time here. That's the first thing that they need is to at least have a good regular season, because these past 2 years have been a disaster.
That would be putting it mildly, I would have to say. Look, every team goes through that point of no return where the previous either A, management group, B, coaching group, C, all of the above group. I mean, even ownership sometimes changes and everything changes underneath them. You know what I mean? This wasn't necessarily the case here in Vancouver, but I really think that these have been some really savvy moves for Vancouver moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it's going to necessarily. I mean, they might be some players now at the trade deadline. You know what I mean?
Definitely think they're going to be big time sellers at the deadline.
Right. I mean, they're going to have company, but they're going to have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And so depending on what their cap situation looks like, which can't be all that great.
It's not.
Right.
It's not.
So that doesn't leave them a lot of wiggle room. So, and with the cap even going up a smidge.
Yeah, a little bit.
Just a tiny skosh. That's still not enough. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To help them that much.
Yeah.
Is what I mean by that. So, but I really like Boudreau as coach of Vancouver, and I think this is a pretty good move, and getting Rutherford as well to get like director of ops or whatever, just like an overseer of somebody that can help put a GM in place, and all that other stuff, and help get the rest of everybody around them so they can try to build something successful up there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see who they go with as a new GM full time. Because obviously Rutherford comes from Pittsburgh and was very successful with the Pittsburgh Penguins, but then left that team. And he's always been an interesting guy. He's made some really, really good moves, and he's made some really, really questionable moves. You never know what you're going to get. But he's obviously put Stanley Cup winning teams on the ice, so he has that. He has that on his resume. And, him kind of as an overseer, it's going to be interesting to see who he goes with as the new GM. And if they bring somebody on the younger side in, or if they go with another retread of just someone who's, been a GM and got fired and was a GM again and got fired, and just keep trying them. But I'd like to see them go in a younger direction. I think, having him as an overseer would kind of give them the ability to take somebody younger and at least have him to lean on if they need some advice or some questions answered or whatever. But
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I think Vancouver, I obviously it was time for major changes. Like, this team just repeatedly came up short of what they were expected to be year in and year out. It was time for some major changes. they've now gone in a completely new direction, and now it's time to see, whether these are the guys that are gonna get them out of this and get them on the right track, or if not. But so far so good. They're 2-0 under Bruce Boudreau, so they're off to a pretty good start.
So far, I guess you could say the answer to that would be yes.
Yeah.
Doing good so far. Look, they don't have that horrible of a team, do they?
I mean, their roster's not bad. That's why they're
mean.
supposed to be better than what they are every year.
And their expectations last year were, a little bit elevated, especially given the fact that they were in an all-Canadian league,
Mm-hmm.
and for a minute there they had it, but I guess it's just our time. You know what I mean? Like, I guess it's, it goes around. It's just the way it is,
Mm-hmm.
Every team either outgrows the previous coach and or management, and it's time to move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where Vancouver is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely time to move on for them, and we'll see what the long-term impact is here as they clean house and start fresh. New coach, gonna be a new GM. We don't know who yet, but we do know that Jim Rutherford's taken over as the president of hockey ops and is currently searching for a new GM. He's currently playing the GM on an interim basis until they find a full-time GM. Completely new people in charge up in Vancouver, and we'll see long term what kind of effect that has. But I think pretty much everybody was in agreement that it was time for Benning and Green to go, and time for somebody else to get a chance there and try and turn that team around.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel, and that's what I was kind of the vibe that I was getting as well, too, with what social media was putting out there, and what I was reading from the fans, and they were just kind of mumbling and grumbling about, all right, time to go, time to, it's keister kicking time.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, but Benning and Green, your keister is time to be kicked.
Yeah.
So. Speaking of keisters being kicked and houses being cleaned and trash being taken out, or whatever you want to call it. Okay. Should we move on?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. My top story is another team that also has done exactly the same thing that the Vancouver Canucks done, only not quite to that extent.
Mm-hmm.
The Philadelphia Flyers have relieved Alain Vigneault and Michel Therrien of their coaching duties.
Yes.
And have appointed Mike Yeo as the current interim coach.
Yes.
They brought in Nick Schultz, development coach, to run the defense. They had Ian LaPerriere up for a game or two because the Phantoms weren't playing and they were short another coach.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in Coach Williams to run the power play. So they're kind of scrambling around for coaches.
Yeah.
So this was clearly an unexpected move, I believe, with the likes of the fact that they're scrambling around to try to, plug holes for right now.
Yeah.
And, oh, wait, hold on. Let's just throw some lemon juice mixed with salt into that wound and sprinkle in 10-game losing streak.
Yep.
Right? So not only did the general manager basically go all in on a team to build around a team and a coach like AV, and then around his system brought in a whole bunch of AV guys, and then around an AV player as in Hayes, who has only played in but a handful of games. And what I mean by a handful, I mean less than 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so far this season. And let's face it, Hayes is really only a filler guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not I don't think he's a top line guy.
I don't either. He's definitely he's not a top line guy. He's a middle 6 player.
Okay, thank you. At least a middle 6, maybe bottom 6 guy at the best. Okay, he just is not that guy. I'm sorry. And the fact that they built a team around this guy, What about Giroux? What about Couturier that you just signed to a long-term contract who won the Selke Award? I don't know. It's just me. But now they've fired their coach.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Mike Yeo now is the interim coach of the Philadelphia Flyers.
Good
What do you think
luck.
about that?
I do not like Mike Yeo.
Not a fan of that either.
I've never been a Mike Yeo fan. I mean, the way that he got run out in Minnesota, I mean, when Mike Yeo loses a team, it's downhill fast and bad. And that's exactly what happened in Minnesota, and that's exactly what happened in St. Louis. And I've never been a big fan of Mike Yeo as a head coach. I'd be looking elsewhere if I'm the Philadelphia Flyers. I would be looking to bring somebody else in.
Well, okay. So we already saw what the Canucks did, and they plucked Boudreau off the market quickly. All right. So let me throw it at you. What do you think? Who do you think is going to be on the short list here for the Flyers?
Oh, man. I don't know. I'd be waiting till the end of the season.
You'd let Mike Yeo finish it out?
Yeah, because I don't think you have a new coach isn't going to come in and just instantly turn this around.
That's true.
I think there's too many issues with the Flyers that it's like Darryl Sutter in Calgary last year.
Yeah.
Like he came in, he's a great coach, and look what he's doing with the team this year, but he wasn't able to change anything last year.
Exactly.
He needed that off season and that full new year to get his system in and get his message across. I think the same thing's needed in Philadelphia. As much as I don't like Mike Yeo, I don't think the Flyers are going anywhere this year. So I'd let him finish out the season, and then you'll have a bigger list of options come next year if you're trying to make this higher in the off season as opposed to trying to make it right now. I watched the Flyers against the Devils this past week, and I saw a Flyers team that played like they didn't even want to be there. I could not believe, for a team that's on a losing streak the way that they were, I was expecting an angry, frustrated, emotional Flyers team that was going to be pushing hard for a win, and I saw a team that looked like they didn't even want to be on the ice. Like, they were so indifferent about whether they lost or not. Like, none of them showed any emotion. None of them seemed to care whatsoever. They went out there. They skated around for 60 minutes. They got shut out by the Devils. I mean, the Devils are having a decent year, but they're not great. They got shut out by the Devils, and they looked like they couldn't care less. And I could not believe how bad Philadelphia was and just the lack of any sort of anything from them. And I was holy cow, I guess the coaching change didn't do anything.
No, this time it did not do a thing. And I believe the Flyers are playing Vegas tonight in Vegas. And gosh, I guess the guys are having a good time in Vegas because I don't think there's going to be much of a game tonight.
Yeah. That's why I don't think it matters if the Flyers hire a different coach this year, because I think they're done. Yeah. I watch it. I see them play, and I see a team that's done.
Now, this is coming from somebody who does not watch every single game.
Mm-hmm.
This is from somebody who only sees them against occasional teams. Let's face it, the New Jersey Devils are not one of the best teams in the NHL right now, but they certainly aren't on the same level as the Flyers, that's for sure. Okay? They, at least as sloppy as they played, because their passing was horrible, their turnover ratio was horrible. It's just that the Flyers aren't good enough to capitalize on it, so it didn't matter. You know what I mean? Yep. New Jersey would turn the puck over, and then they were able to regather after turning it over. Because Flyers aren't good enough or didn't care enough or whatever. It's hard to say that about this team, but I really feel that I think that the Flyers need what's going on with Vancouver. I think something like that needs to happen in Philadelphia. What else can you do at this point other than keep the same guy rolling who just keeps trying to, putting Band-Aids on a dam?
Yeah. You think Fletcher's gone at the end of the year? Doesn't look like they're going to make the playoffs.
No, it doesn't look like they're going to. And all of the savvy moves that were made in the offseason, this past offseason, didn't pan out. Riddle me this. Let me just throw this at you. Supposing that Philadelphia fired Vigneault at the end of last season, right? And brought in a new coach. So now Philadelphia doesn't quite make all of those moves or makes different moves.
Yep.
Drafts differently. Maybe that draft pick doesn't come. Maybe Ristolainen doesn't come. Maybe Ellis doesn't come. Maybe other players stay. Maybe other players leave. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? And so maybe the Hayes guys go and some of the other players stay, and you know what I mean? Whatever. It changes things if they get rid of Vigneault at the end of last season.
Absolutely.
And I really think that's what they should have done, was gotten rid of him at the end of last season. It's hard for me to listen to a coach who's making the amount of money that Vigneault's making, who still hasn't necessarily won a cup yet, who's making that kind of money, come out and give me all these excuses as to why it was not his fault that the team didn't win.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just an observer, and I just call it like I see it.
I've always thought Alain Vigneault was a very overrated coach.
I never thought he was a cup-winning coach.
He's not.
He's not. He obviously has not won a cup in any of the places he's been.
Nope.
And the fact that I have a feeling that he said to Chuck, look, the only way I'm coming here is if you bring Hayes in. And they went out and traded for Hayes before he even hit the open market. He didn't even see free agency. And we traded for his rights. So I think there were some decent moves, but I think there was a lot of missteps by Fletcher. Okay, throughout his entire reign, since he took over for Ron Hextall. I'm not saying that Ron Hextall was the greatest GM to ever grace the planet, but he's at least won Stanley Cups. I think his knock was that he didn't want to communicate to the ownership. And they were like, well, this is what we want to do. And he was like, well, no, this is what I want to do. And they were like, well, all right, see ya. You know what I mean? We'll bring in a yes man.
Yep.
And I think that's what Fletcher was. He was a yes man. They said, do this. And he said, okay, how high?
Yep.
Right? Now, here's where you are now. You had a guy who drafted players, a list as long as my arm of players that aren't even 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. And now you're leaning on guys like that who probably don't even deserve to wear an NHL sweater, much less for the Flyers, for any other team for that matter, out there skating around, for the team. Because that's what they have to put out on the ice. So I think more than just a coaching change needs to happen in Philadelphia. And I will leave it at that.
Yeah, it's interesting that, they made all these moves this offseason that were supposed to make them better, and here we are with them right around the same spot in the standings as they were last season and playing as bad as they were last season. And their defense is as bad as it was last season. Now, Ryan Ellis getting injured, definitely a big time negative impact.
Yep.
And I wonder how different this year maybe could have been if he didn't get injured, if he was there to anchor that top pair. But they're still giving up 3.33 goals per game, which is obviously a very large amount of goals to give up every game comparatively to other teams. Like teams that give up less goals per game than them include the Detroit Red Wings, the New Jersey Devils, the Chicago Blackhawks, the Vancouver Canucks.
Teams. Yeah,
I'm looking for like bad
Arizona.
teams here. I think Arizona is one of the few that gives up more. Yeah, Arizona does give up more.
Okay, and the other problem too with Philadelphia is that not only are they giving up more, but they're not even scoring. Like they have like less than 1 point. I think it's the last time I checked, I thought I saw was like 1.46 goals per game.
They're at 2.23 this year, which is 28th in the NHL.
Well, that's not going to win you many games, is it?
28th scoring team in the NHL, and they have the 8th worst defense. So they don't do anything well. Like they do the offense really bad, and they do the defense really bad. They are so they're 26th in the NHL in overall team defense, and they're 28th in the NHL in overall team offense. Their power play, which is horrendous, is under 14%. That is 29th in the NHL.
29th. Yep.
And their penalty kill, which is average, right around just under 80%, right in the middle. That is 22nd in the NHL.
Oh, goody.
So they are not higher than 20th. They're not higher than 22nd in anything.
No, do you know what they do really, really well? Penalty minutes. They're one of the league leaders in penalty minutes.
Oh, so they take a lot of penalties. That's gonna help you win games.
Especially when you're on the PK and you're down a man or two man a lot.
Yep.
Right? They are one of the league leaders in penalty minutes. So like I said, and you can't fire 23 players.
Nope.
And so I guess it's easier to fire the coach, but frankly, I think this team needs to just move as many assets as possible to get as many assets as possible. And that's just how it's going to have to be, because they are now so tight up against the cap. They can't even afford to rent a player for anything. They got $42,000 of cap space.
Yeah.
So you can't even rent a player for 2 games for that kind of money.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money this offseason for not much of a return on the investment.
Again. They spent a whole bunch of money the season before and didn't get much return on the investment either, because look at how bad they were.
Yep.
They lost more than half of the games. What? Okay. So, yeah, that's my top story. The Flyers firing Vigneault and Michel Therrien and Mike Yeo taking over.
Yeah.
And the streak is going to continue to 11, I believe, tonight.
Yeah, we'll see. But 2 teams making major changes this week. Vancouver cleaning house, new GM, new head coach, new president of hockey ops. Flyers also change head coaches as Alain Vigneault is out, along with assistant Michel Therrien. And Mike Yeo takes over on an interim basis, but that hasn't changed anything for the Flyers, as their losing streak has now been extended to 10 games. And, there's a decent chance that maybe it gets extended to 11 tonight when they have to play the Golden Knights. And that is certainly not going to be a fun matchup for them, as Vegas has been playing much better as of recent. And is currently, I believe it's a 3-game winning streak for the Golden Knights right now. Yes, they've won 3 in a row. So
and they've been playing a lot better. They've had some guys come back. They've been playing a lot better. So I mean, obviously, when you have guys coming back, you're going to play a lot better. So
definitely,
So in Vegas, the game is going to be in Vegas tonight as well too. So The exact opposite effect has happened for the Philadelphia Flyers is what it did for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yes.
Bruce Boudreau was brought in as the new coach, and they proceeded to win their first 2 games under him.
Yep.
And Mike Yeo takes over for Philadelphia, and they proceed to lose the first 2 games under him. So.
Yeah, that's not so
okay.
Good. But on a more positive note, Steele, if you want to go with your second top story here, there's a much more positive thing for us to talk about.
Yes, I thought since we were in such a bummer part in the beginning, with all the fires going on, and no, that it's an opportunity for Bruce Boudreau, so that's all good. Right? You know, you weren't going to see him sit on the sideline too long, do you think?
No, he's too good of a coach to be out of the game for that long.
For that, right. You know what I mean? And so I didn't think he was going to last very long. And quite honestly, I think if Philadelphia would have fired Vigneault sooner, they could have gotten Boudreau. And I think that would be a good fit for Philadelphia. I also think that Claude Julien might probably be a good fit there too. Yeah, for Philadelphia. But speaking of some good news, how about Marc-Andre Fleury getting to 500 wins as a goalie with a shutout?
Yep.
Yeah, man. When you get to 500 wins, that's a lot of hockey.
I believe he's only the 3rd goaltender to get 500 wins in NHL history.
I mean, that's a lot of hockey, and now it kind of makes sense now why they gave him the Vezina last year. I mean, I don't think technically he deserved it as far as statistically, right? But I don't have a problem with the fact that they gave it to him because it was more of a, hey, this guy's probably going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and we should probably make sure he has a Vezina trophy to say, hey, it's a first ballot Hall of Famer, Vezina trophy winning Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah, I definitely think that there was a lot of that. It was kind of more of a we need to get him one before he retires type of thing.
And we better hurry up because look how old he's getting.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So he does become the 3rd goaltender in NHL history to win 500 career games. Obviously, Marty Brodeur and Patrick Roy are the only goaltenders ahead of him. Roberto Luongo is right behind him at 489. And obviously, Luongo is retired, along with all of these other goaltenders that are close to him in the standings. Yeah. So it seems like it's going to be a while before we see anybody else get even remotely close to that level. I mean, there's nobody active right now that I think is anywhere close to that. 500 is a huge, huge number.
Yeah. I mean, even like Vasilevsky is that.
See, Vasilevsky might be one of the few guys that I think might be able to get to it.
What about Bob?
Bobrovsky's at 308 right now.
Oh.
He still has just under 200 more wins to go. That kind of puts into perspective how many 500 is.
Yeah, right? And Bob is, well, he's played in a lot of games, but he hasn't won a lot of games.
Yeah, and he's getting up there now. He's in his 30s. See, Vasilevsky kind of jumps out to me as like maybe the one guy that has a shot, but that's just because he's still so young. But the other active goalies that are on this list, Jonathan Quick at 342, like he's not going to win 100 more games.
Probably not.
Carey Price is at 360. He would need 140 more wins to get there. I don't think he gets there. Price should get to 400, but I don't think he's going to get to 5.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The other guys in the top 50 here are mostly not active players. I mean, there's a lot of great goalie names, but they're not still playing.
Well,
even Tuukka Rask is at 306. Think about how good Tuukka Rask was in Boston. How many games he won for so many years, and he's only at 306.
But he's also he's in his like mid 30s, right? He's like 36 or 7.
He's 33.
Oh, 33.
Might have turned 34 by now, but he's Yeah, he's mid-30s, and if he does come back, it's probably only going to be for the rest of this year, and that's it.
Right.
But yeah, there's really not a lot of active goalies here, and none of them that I see in this top 50 list are going to be around long enough to get to 500. Again, the only guy right now that seems like it's possible, or at least looks that way now, would be Vasilevsky. But he's still got a long way to go, but he's still really young, obviously.
Exactly. And he's got a pretty good head start.
Oh yeah, he's got a really, really good. He's on a good pace right now.
Yeah, he's on a really good pace. So he's over 100 wins.
He's over 200. He's at 204 right now.
Okay.
So he would need another 296 wins in his career, and he's 27 years old. So see, Vasi to me is a guy that's got a real shot.
Right. I mean, of anybody out there, he really would be the only one.
Yeah, I think now. Some maybe some of the younger guys, it's a little too early to tell. But I would say the only one that stands out and being like, okay, this guy's been around for a number of years and is looking like he could push that number would be Andrei Vasilevsky potentially.
Exactly. And what was Henrik Lundqvist at? What was he at?
He
was over 400, right?
Oh yeah, it was what was Lundqvist? Around 460, I think.
That's what I was thinking, like 462 or 464 or something. He
finished with 459 wins.
Oh, hey, we weren't that far off.
So he missed it by 41. So that's about one elite season. That's like one elite goaltending season. He could have had 41 wins. Although he never had 40 wins in a single year. His career high was 39. But he just missed that.
Yeah, just. So, okay. All right. I got you. So what do you think, man? What's your should we go with your second or third top story?
Oh, we've already talked about my second. So.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. So how about your third top story?
So this comes from last week, but we didn't really talk about it, so I wanted to touch on it this week because it's pretty big news. Jack Hughes and his new contract, and 8-year, $8 million deal per season. Huge money, obviously, long-term contract for the former first overall draft pick. And it definitely stirred up a lot of conversation around the NHL when this happened because, well, for a lot of people, what has Jack Hughes done to deserve $8 million a year at this point? I mean, he's 20 years old, and he has a career point total of 57. So, you kind of have two lines of thinking here where you have the old school approach, which is saying, what the heck has this guy done to earn $8 million a year? He's got 57 career points. He's played 124 games in the NHL. He hasn't proven anything. He's got 5 points this year. He's missed a bunch of time with injury. Why is Jack Hughes getting this kind of money? And then you have the new kind of approach to things, which is really taken over the NHL over the last, I guess it's kind of been going for like the last decade or so, but it's really picked up over the last 5 years, is this idea of paying for potential. And teams are locking these young players in who have this sky-high potential but haven't necessarily reached it yet, but they're locking these guys in early before any other team can get a shot at them, before they raise their price and what they're worth by reaching that potential and putting up big numbers. And we're seeing this a lot with very high draft picks. Like early draft picks are getting locked in at, as soon as their first ELC is done, teams are locking them into long-term contracts, big money, and then hoping that they become the player that they thought they were getting when they drafted him. And obviously, Jack Hughes was taken first overall. Like, he is expected to become a superstar player. He has not become a superstar player yet. He only has 57 points, but the Devils are banking on him becoming the player that they thought they were getting when they drafted and they're locking him in, and they're going to build this team around him as one of the major core pieces. And this is kind of, been a debate of that old school versus new school approach, and we're seeing contracts like this more and more in the NHL.
They even drafted his brother.
Yeah. They're locked in long term to Jack Hughes.
Okay, they drafted his brother, but look, let me just say this: when I seen him play with Hischier and that really young Devils offense, ooh, like you could see that. Watching the Flyers game, I watched it the first time because I always usually watch them twice. The first time and the second time I watched it, I started to, because I usually try to watch the tendencies of the other team. So I was watching for New Jersey, and I'm sitting there going, well, man, okay. I mean, they're sloppy right now because Hughes has only been back now. This is only his third, fourth game back or something crazy like that. He hasn't been back that long. Okay. And to get reacclimated, get your sea legs back and everything like that, I really I see the potential in him. I see the potential with this really young New Jersey team.
Yep.
With these other guys, Hischier and his brother and everybody else that they've brought in so far, and who else they've drafted. They have drafted some sick players since they've drafted Hischier.
Yeah, Alexander Holtz, Dawson Mercer, Ty Smith coming in on the back end. They've got some really good young players.
Okay. Mercer was a guy that we did on our prospect watch last week. You know what I mean? And so, like I said, I really think that he is going to meld well. Now, you were talking about old school versus new school in regards to paying for potential and or paying a player that's earned it. I was always complimentary of the NHL because they always forced a player to earn his contract. That usually meant that after your ELC, your entry-level contract, that you got they call them a bridge contract.
Yep.
Where you get maybe a year or two or three for a couple $1 million. All right. And that's where, okay, you've played well. You've impressed us. And here's a contract to keep you on our team. And we'll see how things progress. After the second or third year, or even sometimes after the first year, like if a player gets to that point and then they have that explosive year or that coming of age year, you know what I mean? Where now suddenly they all get it and the game slows down and blah, blah, blah. And now it's all about, them figuring it out, and you can tell when players get to that point, right? Some of them get to it earlier than others, and some of them never get there. Right. And so when you pay a player that bridge contract, you're hoping that you see that player with a little light bulb that goes off. And then you can pay him the bigger dollars because now he's starting to put the puck in the net more, or starting to save the puck more, or starting to defend better, or has much better numbers, or, whatever. So I've always been a fan of earning your contract. I've always been a fan of how the NHL has always done that with players, where you play as a guy drafted, you get an entry-level contract, which is, let's face it, not even remotely close to what NBA or MLB or NFL players get as drafted players out of college.
No, ELCs are under $1 million.
Always.
Yep.
Okay. And they're usually always for 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
Okay. And that's just the way it is, right? And I believe that's a great system because that keeps that helps to keep the players earning it. That keeps the players on their best skates because now they have to earn it. And it's not like it's just handed to you. You look at the NFL and they draft a player to the first round and right away he's getting $5 million 5 years. Here's $25 million and usually half of that is a signing bonus. So to be drafted in the first 10 rounds of the NFL, you're looking at pocketing anywhere from $5 to $3 million as a signing bonus right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you haven't even played it down yet.
Yeah.
You haven't even put on the uniform yet. We don't even know what size you are yet.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? So I've always been a fan of the NHL and just allowing the players to earn their contracts. When you allow the players to earn their contracts, you have less issues when, like, the whole Jack Eichel thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or now, what God, I mean, if anything were to happen and Jack Hughes suddenly can't or whatever, now you're stuck like Chuck for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, I get it that they're trying to guarantee players contracts or they're trying to lock players in. They're not guaranteeing them, but they're just trying to lock players in. I get it. But I still think those entry-level contracts are the way to go. If you want to bump them up another year and bump them up a couple more $1 million, okay. But don't give them this $8 million, 8 years. That's gosh.
Well, the gamble that the GM's making is that he's going to be worth more than that, but he's already going to be locked into this contract.
So,
like, the hope is that Jack Hughes becomes a player that's worth more than $8 million a year, but you're getting him on a steal of a deal at an 8x8 that you signed, 3 years ago. Like, this is what the Bruins did with David Pastrnak. Like,
yeah,
they could see David Pastrnak becoming a superstar goal scorer, so they locked him in at $6.6 million a year or whatever he is. If he had signed that deal 2 years later, he would have been making $8.5 million a year, and they got him at $6 whatever that he's on now because they signed him early. That's the other side of the paying for potential, is that as the cap goes up and player salaries increase, then 4 years from now, Jack Hughes might be worth $10 million a year, or he might be worth an Austin Matthews kind of $11 million contract, but the Devils have him at 8 because they signed it early. So it's a big gamble. If the player becomes better than what his contract's worth, then the team makes out here because they got a player on a cheap contract. If the player doesn't live up to that, then you're stuck with a really bad contract and you're overpaying a guy for the next 8 years. It's a big gamble by the GMs, but we're seeing them make it with young, high draft picks because they're confident that these guys are going to become the star players that they thought they were getting when they're drafted. And I feel like some of these times it's going to work out and some of these times it's definitely not, and that's just going to be the gambles that the GMs make.
Exactly. And I mean, at least they're not doing it right out of the draft.
No, it's not. No, it's not not right away. They at least have to play a couple years. They got to play a few years on that ELC first.
Exactly. I'm with you though. I think it kind of sends a little bit of a different message that might not necessarily be the best message to send. Where all you have to do is just show out for your ELC and then you'll get paid the big bucks. And then you have guys that played their ELC and then got that bridge deal. They're on their bridge deal and they're watching a guy that hasn't even scored as much as you have is now getting paid way more money.
Mm-hmm.
You get where I'm going with that though, right?
Yeah, but I mean, look at Jeff Skinner in Buffalo. I mean, he has 140 goal season. He gets $9 million a year. He's been a fourth liner since.
Hey, there's always exceptions to the rules. I'm here to tell you.
I mean,
okay, I just don't want that to be an exception to the rule. And that's why I think them doing that is potentially not a good thing. It's never good to bet with house money when the odds are stacked against you.
Well, I'll say this. If Jack Hughes never becomes more than like a 60-ish point player and is a career second liner, this contract isn't going to look great. If Jack Hughes becomes a 90-point guy year in and year out or a 100-point player, the Devils are going to be really, really glad that they signed this, and he's going to be a guy that's probably worth, $100 or $10 million a year, and they're going to have him on a cheaper deal than that because they signed it early. It just depends on what Jack Hughes turns into.
I mean, it's one of these things.
Yep.
All right, what you call heads or tails?
Yep.
Right? Heads, he's a success. Tails, he's not. That's kind of where it's at for this.
Yep.
I'm hoping it's, that he is the success that they all think
I
that
certainly hope that he has a great career as well.
I do too. I mean, I see the potentials there, but man, potential is a tough thing to pay for, folks.
We'll have to see how it all works out. All right, one final top story here, Steele.
Yep.
This is your last
Final
one.
top story.
Yes.
And that is that the sale of the Pittsburgh Penguins
Yep.
has been approved by the Board of Governors to the Fenway Group.
Yep.
And the statements that were released, I believe, earlier this afternoon, basically stated that they understand the legacy of Mario Lemieux and Ron, and they want to continue that. And they will do everything in their power to ensure the success of the Penguins and to ensure the legacy of Mario Lemieux and his ownership group and everything else. So that, I think, is going to do nothing but great things for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so we talked about that. It still had to be approved by the NHL Board of Governors the last time we talked about this, which would make it official. It has now been approved by the NHL Board of Governors, so obviously, it's going to happen now. It's done, and Fenway Sports Group is going to be the new majority owners of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I remember seeing, I forget which article it was, but I think Lemieux and Burkle retain 5% of the team's stake, and then the rest of it, so a large majority, goes to the Fenway Sports Group here. I believe they become, we know they're majority owners. I think they bought 95%. I'm trying to find the number on it. It was a very...
900
million, yes. 900 million here for Fenway Sports Group to buy the Pittsburgh Penguins. So,
and if you do the math, they said that the Penguins were worth 1.2 or 1.3 billion dollars.
Wow.
Right. So if you do the math, so that's 9 minus 13. So they got about 90% of the company, or 90% of the team, and 10% or something like that.
Yep.
It's a 90 or something along those lines split between Fenway Group and Mario Lemieux and his ownership group. But yes. I think this is going to be a good thing for Pittsburgh because it's going to maintain Lemieux. Because in that way they still maintain the connection to the legacy. They also maintain hockey minds.
Yep.
Okay, and let's face it, any good, successful hockey team is run by people that are hockey people, that have backings of owners that go, hey, I'm going to hire some hockey people who know way more about this than I do.
Yep.
And just tell me who I write the check to. What? Yeah. Those are some of the most successful teams. Am I not lying or not?
No, that's 100% the right way to go about it. We see teams where owners are too involved and they're not hockey people, and that can go south very, very quickly. So Fenway Sports Group's done a very good job with the Red Sox. They're very well-liked owners with the Red Sox. And the Red Sox, year in and year out, for the most part, put a quality team on the field. So I wouldn't expect any major differences with the Penguins. I think, they're going to be good, solid owners. Hockey people are going to be making the hockey decisions, and business people will be making the business decisions. And I can't imagine it's going to really affect the on-ice product too much with Pittsburgh. I think this is more of a just an ownership change and a difference on the business side of things. But on the ice, I think the Penguins are still going to be the Penguins.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it's going to change the team per se, but it might allow them to make some of the moves that they maybe not have been able to make in the past, because Pittsburgh has historically been on the verge of bankruptcy or Do you know what I mean? Like because Mario's been trying to fight to keep ownership.
Yeah, but from a player standpoint, I mean, they spend to the cap anyway, so
Always.
they
Yeah,
always spend to the cap. So it's not like they're
exactly.
going to have new money to spend. But maybe from
Right.
a coaching or a scouting standpoint, they could, add more in player development. They could add more to the scouting staff. They could add more to the front office and that kind of thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's always going to be, helpful as far as I'm concerned. When you have ownership that cares about what the product is on the field or ice, then that always makes things better no matter what.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, so that deal's final now. Fenway Sports Group has been approved as the new owners of the Pittsburgh Penguins, so that deal will take place. And that's going to bring us now to the end of top stories, and that's going to bring us now to our first commercial break. When we come back, we'll be doing one of our favorite segments. It will be Top Shelf, our weekly power rankings. But first, here's a word from our show sponsor, Manscaped. And rather than me telling you about it, I'll just let you guys hear it for yourselves. The holidays have come early this year as Manscaped have the gift that keeps on trimming. Santa's beard isn't so appealing when it's coming out of your trousers, and that's why Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have you covered this holiday season. Now available in your country, join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to keep their trees trimmed and ornaments polished. Go to manscaped.com and use the code OTWH for 20% off and free shipping. It's time to kill two birds with one trimmer and get yourself and your lady a gift. I am talking about the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0, a great gift for any man in your life. I've used a few different products to get the job done down there, and none of them are as smooth and effective as the Lawnmower 4.0. This electric trimmer has proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to reduce nicks and cuts on your nuts. It's also waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. It's like a gift to your partner with less mess. The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver, an anti-chafing deodorant, moisturizer, and toner for your special package. This hygiene bundle will also come with a pair of Manscaped anti-chafing boxers that is the perfect wrapping for your presents. The Manscaped Performance Package comes with all the tools to clean up his delicate places. Included in the new package is the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, which is waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. Nobody, not even Santa, wants hairs down under their chimney. Manscaped is going beyond the groin with their new refined cologne, which offers a light yet masculine, pleasing fragrance that will leave your lady on the naughty list this year. It's made with hypoallergenic ingredients that are vegan, cruelty-free, dye-free, and paraben-free. 'Tis the season to load up on Manscaped products, so go get yourself, your dad, your brother, and friends the best gift of all, the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code OTWH at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Just use code OTWH. Clean up your nuts and make Santa proud this year. And we are back. Thank you to our sponsor, Manscaped. And don't forget to use that promo code OTWH at checkout for 20% off and free shipping on your order from manscaped.com. It's time now to get into our regular weekly segments, and we are going to be starting with Top Shelf, our power rankings. This is always a lot of fun. We love doing this. So let's get right into it here. Steele, if you want to start us off, who do you have at number 5 right now?
At number 5 for my top shelf power rankings, I'll tell you what, Toronto Maple Leafs. I have been duly impressed with this team, I have to say. Their goaltending, their defense, their offense. They've won significant games against significant opponents. To be honest with you, and they're just putting it together. This year, maybe it's just me, but this team just doesn't feel like the same team as last year.
No, I think they're definitely better this year.
I mean, clearly the goaltending, but
yeah. I agree. I think Toronto's a better team this year than they were last year. I like what I've seen from them this year. They're also my number 5 team in the rankings. They've won a lot of games. They got 38 points. They're right in the thick of it in the Eastern Conference. And Jack Campbell in goal. Oh boy,
see that right there.
He's been sensational.
But that right there, John, has been the difference for this team, I think, because last year they pretty much had a carousel of goalies that were starting goalies that just kind of rotated in and out there for a little while.
Yep.
Okay. And so let's face it, having Campbell back there, basically just being the brick wall backstop for them, has been exactly what they needed.
And goaltending is, so much of the equation in the NHL. I mean, it is the most important thing that you need to have to be a great team is goaltending. And
exactly.
I think that's been such a huge improvement with Campbell and the way that he's played this year. And I like the Leafs and what they're doing this year a lot. And I think that they're a better team. I said this, I don't know, did I say this last week or I said this at some point. This, I think, is the best Toronto Maple Leafs team that I remember watching.
Okay. I believe you were saying something like that at that point, I believe.
Yeah, this is the best Toronto Maple Leafs team that I remember watching. Certainly the best team since the last time they won a playoff series, which was back before the lockout in 2004. So, that I can remember, this has been the Leafs team that I think has the best shot to actually do something and make some sort of run, and I've been really impressed with them this year.
I have to agree with you 100%. They are 18-8-2 on the season, and that's pretty impressive for the first 28 games of the season for Toronto. Okay, now they came out of the gates last year. They were basically the tops of the North until the end of the season, like the last, I'd say, quarter or so of the season, where they weren't the top anymore. But they went in and they just basically got blown out by Montreal. They were on top 3-1, and then they lose the rest. And, well, anyway. Much improved team this year. Really like the fact that Campbell has been the big difference for them as well. When you look at their goal differential and you look at their winning percentage, man, that just tells you the difference right there in Toronto from this year to last year.
Yeah, definitely an improved team, and I think it starts in goal, and goaltending's been one of the biggest reasons why. Number 4, who do you have in at number 4 here this week?
Number 4 for me is yours, mine, and everyone's Tampa Bay Lightning, the defending Stanley Cup champions. This team just finds a bloody way to win. Like, it just doesn't matter. Like, they just find a way to win.
Oh, yeah. This is classic Tampa.
Just when you think they're out, and they're not playing well, bang, Stamkos has an awesome night. Lights up the score sheets and like, hey, all right, okay. We forgot you were playing for the team. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, look, you also got to take into account that Vasilevsky has done exactly what he did last year. He had a stretch of games where he let quite a ton of goals in, but still was able to win the game. Do you know what I mean? He's done that a couple times this year, but for the most part, man, if you're going to Tampa Bay to play him and Vasilevsky's in net, like, you might as well just not even count on winning that game. I mean, it's at that point right now, I think, with him.
Yeah, he's put up really good numbers again this year. He's got a .927 save percentage and a 2.17 goals against this season. He's won 14 games out of the 21 that he's played, and he only has 4 regulation losses this year. So
getting
another
it done
just
in net.
stellar season from Andrei Vasilevsky. The team is 17-5-4, despite all the guys that they lost this offseason. Doesn't really matter. They just throw guys out there, and Taylor Radish, Boris Kachuk, Gabriel Fortier, like guys that a lot of fans have never even heard of, are just stepping right in for the Tampa Bay Lightning and playing well for them. Yeah. And they've actually just passed Toronto in the standings with their win last night. The Lightning just never go away. It doesn't matter who they have playing, who's out there. It doesn't matter that Kucherov's hurt. It doesn't matter that Braden Point's hurt. They just keep on winning. Right. They just keep on winning. And this is actually the first time that Tampa Bay has been on the list for me, I think, since the beginning of the season. Because they got off to kind of a slow start.
Yeah, they did.
That has not lasted long because they have just gone right back to being the Tampa Bay Lightning.
I think they saw that they weren't part of our list.
Yeah.
And they have fought to get back up in there. Because, look, let's face it. If you look at the NHL beyond Tampa Bay, below Tampa Bay, Toronto, there's a whole slew of teams that could be number 5.
Yep.
I mean, to be honest with you, there could be, I would say maybe 3 or 4 teams that could be number 5. Right? And the fact that we're not talking about certain teams on this list that are not on this list. Do you know what I mean? Like, they could be number 6. They could be number 5.
Edmonton, Carolina, New York Rangers.
Okay, see, now you get, exactly.
There's a lot of teams like that,
And they haven't made the list.
No.
All right. So Tampa Bay making the list.
Oh, they're on a 5-game winning streak, and all of a sudden they've caught everyone that was ahead of them in the East.
It's amazing what 10 points do for you.
They've caught everybody.
I mean, you know what? It's amazing what 10 points do for you. Like, you go that 5-game win streak. It's like we were talking about this last year. Now, it meant a lot more last year because there was so many less games being played. So a 5-game win streak, 10 points meant a swing between. That was huge
last season,
Yeah, between first or out of the playoffs. You know, you could either be first with that 5-game win game streak, or you could be out with a 5-game lose streak. So, I mean, all right, my man.
Literally, there's 4 teams in the East right now with 20 or 38 points, and the Lightning were one that we weren't talking about last week that we are now, that is caught up to everybody else in the East.
Exactly, and they have bumped the one, I think, from the previous week, right? Meaning Carolina. So, all right, John, who do you have for number 3?
Number 3, the Washington Capitals, one of those teams that the Lightning have caught. But Washington right now still leading the Metro Division, 16-4-6 on the year, still doing a great job of getting points out of every game. Like, they've only lost in regulation 4 times. They've played 26 games. 22 of those games they've gotten at least a point out of. That is going to come up huge at the end of the season when we get to playoff seeding. First place, Metro, 38 points, 16 wins. Washington has continued to be extremely, extremely impressive. And I don't know how they do it. Nicholas Backstrom hasn't played all year. They've had Anthony Mantha out for most of the year. TJ Oshie has missed a bunch of time this year. But it doesn't seem to matter. They've had young players step up, play really, really well. They've got good production from their entire group. Their defense has been significantly better than I thought it was going to be. And the Washington Capitals continue to be one of the best regular season teams in the NHL.
And their goaltending has been a little bit better, too.
Samsonov's had a very strong year.
Exactly. I think that has been one of the differences because of the fact that you are talking about, look, let's face it, Mantha, Oshie, Backstrom, I mean, that's the core of the team. Are missing significant time, except for Ovechkin. But he's the only one guy left.
Kuznetsov's turned into 2018 Evgeny Kuznetsov again, finally.
Yes.
Tom Wilson's put up great numbers this year.
Yep.
Ovechkin's like
oh gosh,
MVP level
exploding.
right
now. Yeah. So I'm with you, man. Washington, I have them as well as my number 3 team as well. How could you not have Washington here?
No, they've been very, very impressive.
And consistently impressive in spite of the adversity of missing guys like Oshie and Backstrom, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, for them to be a first-place team, I mean, even if they're healthy, for them to be a first-place team, that's impressive, but for them to do that without the guys that they are missing in that lineup, that just makes it tenfold for me. Like, it's unbelievable what they've been able to do.
I agree. I mean, gosh, I noticed that our list looks very eerily similar. I noticed I said similar, but not exact.
Yeah, because we flip-flop 1 and 2.
Right. So let's get into that one. So who do you have for number 2?
At number 2, I have the Minnesota Wild. Believe it or not, the Minnesota Wild are the leaders of the Western Conference. This is kind of a new thing because they weren't the leaders of the Western Conference just last week, but they are currently on a 8-game, I believe, 8-game winning streak for Minnesota, which means we're certainly going to be talking about them in a segment coming up later on. But they are now 19-6-1 on the season. I believe they're the only team in the league with 19 wins.
Yeah.
Yep, they are the only team with 19 wins. 39 points, which also leads the NHL right now. And they have launched themselves by everybody else that was ahead of them in the West, including Calgary, Anaheim, Edmonton. They're ahead of St. Louis and Nashville in their own division. Colorado hasn't caught them. Minnesota, man, what an impressive year for them. And they're leading the way out West right now. You got to have them as a top team.
It's funny that you mention that, having Minnesota as the top team. So, since you mentioned that, I have Florida at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? For the reasons why you said Minnesota was number 2 for you, man, I gotta tell you something. Florida is one step back as far as I'm concerned. They don't have as many points. Their record isn't quite the same. They're not on quite the win streak. They've stumbled a little bit as of late. They've lost a couple of games here and there. Florida has, I mean. They still look amazing, and they're still playing bloody great. I mean, one of my favorite players right now in the NHL is Huberdeau.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, I like watching him play. I love the game that he's putting out there on the ice. I like when he plays with Duclair. That's a great line for Florida. They spend a lot of time in the offensive zone.
Mm-hmm.
And watching him, the reason why I'm watching a lot of the Florida games is because I'm trying to get that, spinorama, no-look pass from Huberdeau, right? Because I seen one attempt so far this year where it was unsuccessful, but but that gets me to watch a lot of Florida games now. You know what I mean? And so I've watched how they've progressed, and man, I'll tell you what. That's why I have them at number 2. I think Florida has remained one of those top contending teams ever since last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even after the Quinville thing, it
hasn't slowed them down at all. They've been right at the top all season.
That was like a little blip on the radar. Oh, the coach got fired. Who was the coach? Right? I mean, seriously, when you look at the season, who's going to remember who the coach was if this guy keeps winning? Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, hey, well, what do I know? But I'm all for Florida being number 2. That's who my number 2 team is Florida.
Yeah, I have Florida at number 1. I have them in the top spot. I have no reason to knock Florida out of that top spot. I've had them there a lot this year.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm keeping them there. I mean, they've played one less game, so they got game in hand on Minnesota. They're 1 point behind Minnesota. I mean, the difference there is
okay.
minuscule.
So they have one less game played. Okay, but they have it's kind of a toss up because they have 3 overtime ties and they have 2 less losses, but they have 1 less point.
Yeah, there's really no difference. It's really not much of a difference. If Florida wins the game in hand, they go to 40 points. It really doesn't matter. I have Florida at 1 because I've had Florida at 1 for a lot of this season. And Minnesota's the newcomer. We'll see if Minnesota can keep this up. I mean, they're not going to be on an 8-game win streak all season long. So we'll see if they can keep that up. But Florida's been at the top all year for me. And I'm keeping them there. I've been so impressed with this team. Nothing stops them. Nothing slows them down. They do everything well. They're solid defensively. They're getting good goaltending. Their offense is the best in the league, I believe, right now.
Yes, sir.
If I was picking one team's offense that I needed to win a game, I'm taking Florida. And I'm going out there with Florida's scoring ability and winning that game. I got Florida in at number 1. I continue to be very, very impressed with that team.
Exactly. And see, this is how close this was, right? So Florida's goals for is 3.8 and Minnesota's is 3.77.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I mean it's so tough. But see, I went with the points. I went with that Minnesota was been on an 8-game win streak, and that's why I put them at the top. And look, I'm not trying to knock Florida off by any stretch of the word, but look, let's face it. If Minnesota suddenly, starts losing again, and we all know that Florida's not, who's going to be number 1. So I'm just trying to give love to Minnesota.
All right, so there's our lists, and we were mostly the same. We just flip-flopped 1 and 2.
Yep.
You have Minnesota at 1. I have Florida at 1. I have Minnesota at 2. You have Florida at 2. And then we had 3, 4, 5 all the same. Washington, Tampa Bay, and Toronto. And those are your top teams in the NHL right now. Now it's time to move on to our best game of last week, where we choose one game from the previous week of action to talk about that we really think was the best one to watch. And Steele, who do you got?
Well, this game is going to kind of take a backseat to yours. Because, I don't know, maybe. This game was pretty exciting as well, too. But I don't know. Yours was more exciting, I think, because you were calling it. So I went with Calgary and Carolina. This game was just played yesterday on the 9th of December. Carolina winning 2-1 in overtime. This game basically just had it all. I believe this was one of the games that you had selected last week as the game of the week to watch, and John, you were on point. This game was a slam freaking dunk. There was great goaltending. It was physical. It was back and forth. Great chances, great goaltending. And in the end, an overtime awesome win by the Carolina Hurricanes. So I really think that Calgary answered the bell. They answered the question, can they skate with the top teams? Yes, I think they can. They played really, really well against Carolina in this game. And so that's what my game is. The Carolina Hurricanes win over the Calgary Flames just on the 9th of December in overtime 2-1.
Yeah,
John, who is yours?
Definitely a good one. Mine, we have to go back about a week to last Saturday night. Tampa Bay Lightning against the Boston Bruins. Yeah. Saturday night action, and what a hockey game this was. Obviously, Tampa Bay, no Kucherov, no Braden Point, missing significant pieces out of their lineup. Bruins did not have Brad Marchand, did not have Charlie McAvoy for this game, so they were missing significant pieces out of their lineup. it didn't matter. It was still a phenomenal game. Really, really close. Ended up being a 3-2 overtime win for Tampa Bay. Steven Stamkos ripped home the game winner in OT on a 2-on-1 for the Lightning. But the Lightning had a 2-0 lead in this game. In the second period, they went up 2-0, but Boston was able to fight back. They were able to tie it up. It got it to overtime, got a point out of it. I was really impressed with the Bruins' ability to, without Marchand and McAvoy, get at least a point out of this game.
Exactly.
And I really liked their fight in this one and the way that they clawed back from being down by a couple of goals. They tie it up at 2, goes to overtime. Lightning finished the job in OT. Congratulations to them. But it was just a really, really good hockey game, back and forth. A lot of fun to watch. Great goaltending, and just a really great game between two division rivals. That was an awesome one for sure.
Exactly. That was the final game of the suspension for... Okay, so that was a significant piece being out of Boston, and the fact that they were able to look. I also believe that Tampa Bay and Boston. I believe Tampa Bay kind of has Boston's number.
Yeah, they have recently, big time.
Okay, but the fact that Boston, even without some key players, were able to play well. John, I got to tell you something, buddy. This was right up there with that game that we called, the Winnipeg Jets versus Dallas.
Yep.
That game was as fun to watch as it was to hear and watch you call. Okay, so thank you very much for that, man. That made that game that much more awesome to watch you go through the entire. I mean, that vein in your forehead sticks out real good, man. I'm sorry. I'm just messing with you, John. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
No, all good. So those are our best games from this past week in the NHL. Now it's time to go to 3 stars of the week. We'll be talking about our 3 stars this week. Time to give some individual players some attention here who have had great weeks in the NHL. Starting it off, number 3. Actually, our number 3 is the same, so
go ahead, man.
We might as well just say it. Cam Talbot from the Minnesota Wild. Talk about Minnesota being such a really good team this year, and them on an 8-game winning streak right now. Well, Cam Talbot, big reason why 3-0-0 this past week in the 3 games that he started. A .948 save percentage, a 1.95 goals against average, and he stopped 110 out of 116 shots that he faced this week. So Cam Talbot, definitely for me, one of the stars of the week. I know you have him at number 3 as well. Getting a goalie on the list. He had a great week and a big reason why Minnesota's on the streak that they are.
Exactly. Even though he didn't have a shutout, because you know how we love to put goalies with shutouts on the 3 stars, but we couldn't. I mean, I don't know about you, but I couldn't deny this goalie for this week.
3 wins and stopping 110 shots
out of 116. Come on, that's getting it done.
Absolutely,
and that is part of why Minnesota is one of my top teams in the top shelf power rankings. Is because of Cam Talbot.
Yep.
Okay, and man, that offense up there has just been anyway. They've been getting it done up there. What do you think?
Absolutely. They've been ripping in goals, and Cam Talbot's been keeping goals out, and that's led to a lot of wins for the Minnesota Wild.
That's right. Exactly. So both of our number 3 star of the week was Cam Talbot. We got a goalie in. John, who is your number 2 star of the week?
My number 2 stars are Artemi Panarin from the New York Rangers. New York is another team having a great year this year. A lot of fun to watch.
Yes, sir.
Winning a lot of games. And Artemi Panarin, what a week for him. 4 games played, 3 goals, 5 assists for 8 points, an even rating, 3 points on the power play, 5 even strength, 1 game-winning goal. Big, big week for Artemi Panarin as the Rangers' success continues. And 2 points per game over these last 4 games. That is a pretty darn good rate. So he comes in as my number 2 star.
I had a hard time with my number 2 star.
Yeah, there's some good good players out there playing really well.
And as you can see from my number 2 star, I'm giving love to the cross Keystone State rivals
Yep.
here to Jake Gensel from Pittsburgh. Look, in 2 games played, he's got 5 goals, 2 assists for 7 points. He's a +5, but he's got 3.50 points per game. He has 2 power play goals, 1 game-winning goal, and 16 minutes of ice time. Only 16 minutes of ice time, and he's putting up 7 points. Okay, that was my number 2 star. Yeah, I could have gone Panarin. I could have gone. There was a huge list of guys. But when I looked down and I saw that he was a +5 and that he was a 3.50 point per game player over the last 2 games, that's why I have Jake Gensel from Pittsburgh as my number 2 star.
All right, and that brings us now to number 1, and we have the same for number 1 as well. This was a pretty clear choice to us. Mark Scheifele from the Winnipeg Jets, 4 games played, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points, so also 2 points per game, a +1 rating, 4 points on the power play, 4 points even strength, and playing over 20 minutes per game at 20:34 time on ice per game. So Mark Scheifele, what a week for him.
Getting it done, man. Look, we love to see assists, but we also love to see the goals, right? And this was like, there was a list of guys that we could have picked that it could have been number 1 stars. But when you look at 8 points with a +1 rating at 4 games played at 2 points a game, you got to put Scheifele in here as the number 1 star as well. So, man, getting her done. And Winnipeg has been playing much better with him playing this well as well too. So
absolutely,
yeah, for sure. There. So there you go, man. We both have Mark Scheifele as our number 1 star. We both have Cam Talbot as our number 3 star.
Yep.
Right. You have Anteri Panarin as your number 2, and I have Jake Gensel as my number 2. There you go. That's our 3 stars of the week.
All right, it's time now to move on to hottest and coldest teams. We'll look at the 3 hot teams first because we like to keep things positive. Then we'll have to switch over to the other side of things and do the 3 coldest. But let's get right into it here. 3 hottest teams in the NHL. Steele, you can lead us off. Who do you got number 3?
Okay, well, I usually always have my way I put the guys in as far as who's the hottest teams and who's the coldest teams is based off of your win streak. So my judgment's a little bit different than what John's is, but we tend to sometimes get the same teams, maybe just in a bit of a different order.
Yep.
So here we go. My number 3 hottest team is, hey, we got to talk about the Carolina Hurricanes because we haven't talked about one word about that team so far in the show. They're currently on a 3-game win streak. They seem to have hit a little bump in the road, but only a bump in the road. They lost a couple games, but then, boy, have they come roaring back with 3 wins in a row. So that's who one of my hottest teams is Carolina Hurricanes. They've been on this list before, and quite frankly, I believe they deserve to be on this list as my number 3 hottest team of this week.
Yeah, at number 3, I've got the Colorado Avalanche. They are 7-2-1 in their last 10 games on a 2-game winning streak. And Colorado, man, talk about a team that turned their season around.
I'll say.
This team got off to a very rough start. Their goaltending was not good. They were giving up a ton of goals. They were losing a lot of games, and they have completely turned it around in the Western Conference. And this last streak has been awesome for them. Again, they've won 7 out of 10. They've won a couple in a row now, trying to extend to an even longer winning streak. And overall, Colorado just playing really good hockey right now, so I have them in at number 3.
Exactly. Getting some injuries back as well, too, has helped Colorado because they were missing some guys there for a bit of a stretch.
Oh, yeah.
McCarr was out for a while, and I believe McKinnon was out, too, right?
McKinnon was out. Devon Taves was out. They had some big guys out of that lineup, and now they're back, and it's noticeable.
Exactly. And, hey, how about that? I thought Colorado, Carolina, and that's why I went with Carolina, because they had one more game in a row than Colorado, but I'm with you on that. So number 2 hottest team for John is
the Tampa Bay Lightning, 8-1-1 in their last 10 games with a 5-game winning streak, which is the second longest streak going on right now in the NHL.
Yep.
And, you can't really argue with the Lightning. I mean, holy cow. This is a team that is really playing at a high level right now. 8 wins in their last 10 games. Let's see, 9. They only have 1 regulation loss, so 17 out of a possible 20 points. 5 in a row in the win column. Lightning in at number 2.
Guess what? That's who my number 2 hottest team is. What? 5 games in a row? Yep. 8-1-1 in their last 10? I mean, they're the defending Stanley Cup champions, guys. Hello? They went all year without Kucherov last year, and it didn't matter. And then the final third of the season, they went without Stamkos, and it didn't matter. So it doesn't matter. This team just is able to put guys up there and just able to continue to win.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tampa's in at number 2. Who do you have at number 1? And this is, I think, pretty obvious. We both have the same.
Oh, yeah. It's Minnesota.
It's got to be the Wild, easily.
8 wins in a row. Holy smackers. Wow, who thought Minnesota had it in them?
Yeah, this has been a really good stretch for the Wild. 8-1-1 also in their last 10, but they are on a league-leading 8-game winning streak, and they're trying to extend that to 9. That streak is active, and holy cow, this is a team climbing the standings in the West. They've been a good team all year. They were a good team last year, but they've taken it to a new level over these past couple of weeks. This is a new level for the Minnesota Wild.
I agree 100%, and I am really, really digging what the coach is doing up there. He's my pick for Jack Adams. But really like what Minnesota has been doing. 8 wins in a row, league leading. And, man, I'll tell you what, they really opened some eyes when they played and stood up to Vegas last year in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I really think that was their coming out party.
Yeah.
Right. That was like, all right, everybody, it's the Minnesota Wild. Hey, we're here. We made it. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what I think was going on there. And they have just continued to follow that same path since last year and have just done nothing but improve. So, yeah, man, Minnesota, number 1, my hottest team.
All right, so there is our list of hottest teams. Now we've got to go to the unfortunate side of things, the cold side. Teams that are not doing very well right now, and we'll get right into it. Number 3, who do you got? Actually, our lists are the same here, so we can probably just go right through these. Number 3, the New York Islanders. I mean, yikes. Talk about a bad season.
Do you think that's going to be the next coach that goes?
Man, I would have a hard time with that. I think you don't just fire one of the best coaches in the league.
I know.
I feel like this isn't some, AHL call. Like, this isn't Jeremy Colleton. Like, this is Barry Trotz.
I know. I'm just asking.
I would not fire the coach here. They've had so much go wrong this year. I mean, they had to start the year on a 13-game road trip. Yep. They had, half their team gone with either injuries or COVID.
8 players on the COVID list. They got shut down for 2 games.
They got shut down for 2 games. They've had more guys gone with injury. Ryan Pulock and Brock Nelson, the biggest names.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But there's been so much that's gone wrong for the Islanders this year. I would have a hard time firing one of the best coaches in the league. If this was like a middle-of-the-road, middling coach that's bounced around, maybe. Not Barry Trotz. Like, you don't. This isn't the coach's fault. This isn't This isn't the kind of thing where I don't think changing the coach is going to drastically change anything with the Islanders. If anything, they might make them worse because they're built to play Barry Trotz's style.
Yeah.
I think this has just been one of those years where everything that's gone wrong could have gone wrong has.
So nowhere to go but up from here, right?
Yeah, 1-6-3 in their last 10. They just broke an 11-game losing streak with that one win. There's nowhere to go but up for the Islanders.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
No, they will not be in the they will not be in the playoffs this year.
I know, but no, I mean there's a chance for them to win a game.
Oh yeah, they will win another game this season, but they will not be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm with you. And that's a shame too, because man, I really thought last year now, and then even with missing Lee there for a while, but I really thought that the Islanders were, man, I just thought they were that team.
I did too. Back-to-back semifinals. I thought they had a chance to be a cup team this year, and it's gone the complete opposite way.
Exactly. So the 13-game away from home opening of the season probably didn't help.
And I think the COVID was even worse because that 11-game losing streak basically just sunk their season.
Pretty much. I mean, seriously, how do you come back from that? And especially in the Metropolitan Division where the teams ahead of you that are playing well are playing well 20 points ahead of you.
Yeah,
so there's no way to catch that.
No, I think that division is too good for them to make up that many spots.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So, all right, man. Well, so that leaves who do you have at number? Well, since we both have the same list, right?
Yeah.
We have Buffalo here at number 2.
Buffalo's 2.
No shock here.
1-8-1 in their last 10. Lost 4 straight. Yeah.
No shock here. I mean, I thought for sure we would have Arizona.
No, they've actually been they've been better.
They've been better, right?
They've been better. Buffalo started the season was actually kind of good for the first month.
Yeah.
But it's gone downhill fast.
Tires have come off. I mean,
putting it lightly, yeah.
Yeah, putting it lightly, yeah. I'm trying to. At this point now, it's who's going to get the number 1 draft pick, which we're already into the quarter mark of the season, and that's kind of where I feel that Buffalo is at.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're pining for a draft pick at this point.
Yeah.
That's
not looking good.
No, and it's kind of ironic that our number 1 coldest team is probably in the same boat.
Doesn't want to admit it, maybe.
Can't admit it. I don't know what's going on. Philadelphia as the coldest team, they haven't won a game
in their last 10.
They are 0-8-2.
And they've lost 10. They've lost 6 straight in regulation. They haven't even gotten a point.
Yeah, I guess the coach is fired, huh?
Yeah, Vigneault's fired, and Mike Yeo hasn't really turned anything around, at least not that we've seen yet.
You know what he's done? I'll tell you what he's done. He's done the exact same thing that Alain Vigneault did for 3 seasons. He looked at the roster, right?
Yep.
And put all the names in a hat, shook it up, and threw it down, and then said, all right, this guy's on this line, this guy's on this line, this guy's on this line. And that's what he did every night, it seemed like. I mean, I know that's not what he did, but you never had – it was like that was my knock on Hackstall.
Yep.
You got to have guys play the same line night after night so they get used to playing with each other. If you have a guy like Sean Couturier and you have a guy like Claude Giroux and you have a guy like Lindblom or pick somebody on the team, that's your top line. What? I don't understand. And then you just have – look, a lot of injuries, a lot of other things have been going on, but, man –
Travis Konechny really stinks now.
Was never really – I never really – look, I'm going to come right out and say it, okay? You cannot build a Stanley Cup winning team with guys the size of Danny Briere. You just can't. Okay? Yes. Is it great to have a guy like Danny Benair on your team? Yes. Is the guy fast and can score goals? Do they call him Mr. Playoff? Yes. Would I kill to have him on the team right now? Yes. But you can't have all the guys, most of all the guys in those skill positions under 6 foot and under 200 pounds. Not in today's NHL. Can't. It's been proven time and time again by the last 3 Stanley Cup winning teams. You got to have size. You got to have grit. You got to have guys that can throw bodies into the boards and take it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that, guess what? You're not going to be playing in those significant games. Guess what Philadelphia hasn't done?
Yep.
Played in those significant games.
I think back to the offseason, and it seems like I feel like Blake Coleman would have been such a good addition to this Flyers team, and exactly the kind of player that they could have used in that lineup. And obviously he's in Calgary. He's been playing really well in Calgary. But yeah, Philly, I don't know. My head is scratching with Philadelphia because their roster isn't this bad. They should not be this bad.
They have a Selke Award-winning player in Sean Couturier on the team. They have a potential Calder Cup winning rookie goaltender in Carter Hart. Okay, as a goaltender. They have some picks, but the prospect pool is very poor in Philadelphia. So when your big names like Ellis and Hayes go down, you're filling it in with who?
Yep.
Right? That guy shouldn't be playing hockey in an NHL sweater, not even for the Flyers. Mind any other team. Okay, I'm done. But that could be what's going on with Philadelphia, and they're my number one coldest team.
Yeah, definitely number one right now with 0 wins in their last 10 games and a 6-game regulation losing streak. Definitely the number one coldest team. So that brings us to the end of Hot and Cold Teams. And when we come back, we're going to be having some fun. It's going to be game pick time. But first, we're going to have another word from our sponsor, Manscaped, here. And this time, Steele will be telling you all about it.
Ho, 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 gentlemen. The holidays have come early this year as Manscaped has the gift that keeps on trimming. Santa's beard isn't so appealing when it's coming out of the top of your trousers, and that's why Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have you covered this holiday season. Now available in your country, join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to keep their trees trimmed and ornaments polished. Go to manscaped.com and use the promo code STEELFLYERS to get 20% off your entire order plus free shipping. Jingle balls to the walls, fellas, and listen up. It's time to kill 2 birds with 1 trimmer and get yourself and your lady a gift. And I'm talking about the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Inside the Performance Package 4.0, you'll find the Signature Lawnmower 4.0. This electric trimmer is proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to reduce cuts on your nuts. It's also waterproof so you can use it in the shower. It's like a gift to your partner with less mess. Take care of the family jewels with great tools from Manscaped, as your boys are bathed in skin-safe technology to reduce cuts and nicks on your look good in the bedroom with the Performance Package by Manscaped. The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 also includes a Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant moisturizer and toner. This hygiene bundle also comes with a pair of Manscaped anti-chafing boxers that is the perfect wrapping for your presents. The Manscaped Performance Package comes with all the tools to clean up all those delicate areas. Included in this new package is the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, which is waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. Nobody, not even Santa, wants hairs under their chimney. Manscaped is going beyond the groin with their new refined cologne, which offers a light yet masculine pleasing fragrance that'll leave your lady on the naughty list this year. It's made with all hypoallergenic ingredients that are vegan, cruelty-free, dye-free, and paraffin-free. 'Tis the season to load up on products from Manscaped. So get yourself, your dad, your brother, and your friends the best gift of all, the Manscaped Performance Package 4.
And we are back, everybody. It is time now for our game pick section of the show. This is always a lot of fun. We love doing this every week, and last week it was a lot of fun as our picks turned out pretty good. But we got a whole new Saturday of matchups to come up and try and predict who's going to win. So let's see how we can do. See if we can match last week's output, Steele.
Last week, we were big-time winners. Let's just say that. We picked, there were 10 games on the slate for Saturday night matchups. We're talking about December 4th. Here is, and on this segment, we like to just have some fun. We only pick Saturday games. We pick who we think is going to win, and then we tally-ho our record for the season. And so far, so for last week, we were 8-2, both of us. Okay,
I'll take that every time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The games that we differed on were the games that we won.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you differed on the Montreal-Nashville game. You won that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we differed on the Toronto-Minnesota game, and I won that one.
Yep.
So that's why we were both 8-2. We are both 55-38 on the season.
Maybe this will be the week that something changes and we're not exactly the same.
Maybe we'll have to get into it, and that's exactly what we're going to do. That's right. Me and John are going to pick the Saturday night matchups, who we think is going to win, and there is a full slate of games for this coming Saturday as well. So let's get right into it.
Yes.
Are you ready, sir?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. Tampa Bay Lightning versus Ottawa Senators in Ottawa.
Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, that's
very hot and very good team.
And that's not even really a discussion.
Nope.
I'm sorry, it's just not. Nothing against Ottawa. They've been trying to play a little better, you know what I mean? But that's just it, trying to play a little better. So, defending Stanley Cup champions, yeah, Tampa Bay all bloody day long. One of the hottest teams, one of the best teams in the league, going against one of the not best teams in the league. So, all right, Montreal at St. Louis.
St. Louis. You can't pick Montreal this year. This team's bad.
Yep, not yet. And I like what St. Louis has been doing lately, too. Mm-hmm. They've been playing well. They started off the season really well. Tarasenko was playing really well, playing back to his old self, you know what I mean? And so been really impressed with what St. Louis has been doing. So keep on keeping on.
Yep.
All right, Washington at Buffalo.
Washington. I mean, come on.
Really?
You got one of the best teams in the league against one of the bottom teams who's also playing really bad right now.
Right now, yeah. Against a team that's playing really well right now.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. That was easy. All right, Chicago versus Toronto in Toronto.
Toronto. Chicago's playing a lot better, but I just think Toronto's too good.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter if Fleury is in net. Been really liking Campbell up there in Toronto and really liking what's been going on up there now. I believe, is Marner out for a little bit?
Yeah, Marner still has a shoulder injury.
Okay.
And he is
so
out.
Even still, though, they're playing Chicago, and I still got Toronto.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Anaheim versus Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh.
All right. So this is the first one that I have to really think about. This is a good game.
You have to think about this?
Yeah. This is a really tight one. I'm going to take the Ducks. I've been riding Anaheim's train very, very hard this year. So
see, that's not fair, John. You're
I'm
not
gonna
allowed.
take the Ducks.
No. See, this is where we were supposed to differ, right? I was going to be like, yeah, I'm taking the Ducks. John will never expect me to take the Ducks.
No, Anaheim's been fantastic this year. I'm more impressed by Anaheim like every day. Like the longer this success goes on, the more impressed I get with Anaheim.
Yeah, me too. And still, Malkin is skating, but I think Anaheim has just been playing a lot better. I don't know.
They've been very good.
I'm with you, even though it is in Pittsburgh. Okay. New Jersey Devils versus the New York Islanders. Now, this one is the coin flip game.
This is going to be interesting.
One of.
Honestly, I'm going to take the Islanders. I feel they got to win at some point. They beat Ottawa on Tuesday. Was it? Yeah, Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Or Wednesday, whatever night they beat Ottawa. I'm going to take the Islanders. They got to win at some point. They can't lose every game.
I'm going to the New Jersey Devils on this one. I just think New Jersey is gonna. I don't know. I just don't think the Islanders are there yet. And
we'll find out.
And the more Jack plays, the better he plays. The better he plays, the better this team goes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I'm gonna ride that, and I'm gonna take New Jersey on this one. Okay. Philadelphia versus Arizona in the desert.
Oh boy. Honestly, like I want to pick Arizona
me, man,
here.
Really.
It feels so odd saying that, but I want to pick Arizona here. But at the same time, Philadelphia has got to win something. Like the win streak isn't going to last 80 games. Whatever. I'm gonna take the Coyotes. I don't think I've picked Arizona once this season. I'm gonna pick Arizona. They've won a few games now.
You know what's gonna happen here, right?
Oh, Philly's gonna win this game.
Because I'm picking Arizona.
Philly's gonna win this game. This will be the game that breaks Philly's losing streak.
No, I don't think it's gonna be, and I'll tell you why. The last time Philadelphia played against Arizona, Arizona controlled most of the game, controlled most of the shots on goal, controlled most of all. I mean, they outplayed Philadelphia. Okay, Philly just got lucky. Okay, so I can't do it. I just can't. It's not going to happen against Arizona. I just don't think it's going to happen against Arizona.
We'll see.
We'll see. I mean, I think Philadelphia has to play like Buffalo maybe, or Ottawa, Detroit, somebody like that maybe. I don't know. All right, Columbus Blue Jackets at Seattle.
I'm going to take Seattle here. They've been playing better. They're at home. That West Coast trip is tough for Eastern Conference teams.
It is.
Yeah, I don't know. That's another game that could definitely go either way, but I'm going to take the Kraken.
You know where I'm going with this one. I have to. I got to go with the Kraken because there's something about the Blue Jackets. Maybe it's because they're in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But Seattle, hey, I mean, go Kraken. They're doing a little less worse than Philadelphia with an ex-Philadelphia coach and whatever. All right, here we go, my man. Boston Bruins against Calgary Flames in Calgary.
Well, I want the Bruins to win, so I'm going to pick the Calgary Flames because every time I pick against the Bruins, they win. So
I saw that tweet that you put
out.
So
my official pick is going to be for Calgary, but I really want the Bruins to win. I was very impressed with the Bruins beating the Oilers. I was not expecting that. We'll see if they can follow it up with another big win in Western Canada. So I'm hoping that the Bruins win. So for that reason, I'm going to pick Calgary. So the Bruins will win and I'll be wrong.
Oh, in Calgary. What time is this? Is this a afternoon?
10 p.m. No, this is a night in Calgary, 10 p.m. start time Eastern time. Which is
McAvoy, Marchand, who's in
They're
goal?
back. Yeah, those guys are back.
I'm going to have to differ on. I'm going to have to take your Boston team on this one, buddy.
That'll make it interesting.
Yeah, because that was a tough loss for Calgary's. All right. It's one thing with Calgary coming here to the East.
Mm-hmm.
Different, I think, when the East comes to them.
Yep.
So we'll see. So I picked Boston.
All
All
right.
right. Speaking of East going to West, how about Carolina going to Edmonton?
Oh boy, the Oilers are struggling.
Uh-huh.
They're struggling.
And Carolina has.
And Carolina's hot. I'm gonna take the Hurricanes here.
Yeah.
I don't like betting. Well, I sometimes do, but I don't like betting against streaks. And Carolina's hot right now, while the Oilers are not. They're going the other way. So I'm going to take Carolina.
And I have a hard time not picking Carolina against any team, to be honest with you, because if anything, Carolina is going to outwork you.
Yep.
Right. And so, okay. Minnesota versus LA Kings.
Minnesota. They're just too good.
This is easy. LA Kings been playing better. Quick's been playing better. Things have been doing a little bit better there in LA. California teams in all have done a step better, with Anaheim really taking a step forward, like we thought they could.
Yep.
They have a lot of potential. They have a lot of young talent. Oh my gosh, that sick goal that sick assist by Zegers. Holy smokes.
Yeah, that was
nuts.
nuts.
Are we playing lacrosse?
That was nuts. The over-the-net flip, and then Milano knocks it out of the air.
I mean, like, are we playing lacrosse here or what? Anyway, that was the sickest thing I've seen in 20-odd years of watching hockey. And I got to see Gretzky, Lemieux, LaFontaine, Forsberg. I got to see all these guys, but I'd never seen a play like that, ever. All right. Dallas Stars versus San Jose Sharks in San Jose.
This is a tough one. Dallas had a long winning streak, but now they've lost a few following it. I think Dallas gets back on track in this game. San Jose is one of those very mediocre 500 teams. I'm going to go with the Stars.
Nope. We all know what I do with San Jose.
Yeah.
No. Sorry, I typed the wrong thing in there. Sorry.
No, you don't do well when you pick San Jose.
No, so I picked Dallas, but San Jose started off the year really well. They won quite a few good games there in the beginning, but then, not so many games. Not to mention the whole issue going on with some players off the ice there as well. So, but Dallas, I think, is coming back, playing better, and I think I even saw that Bishop might even be coming back this year.
Yeah, Ben Bishop is on a conditioning stint down in the AHL and will be ready to return here pretty soon for the Stars. So they're going to have 4 goalies. They're going to have to do something with their goaltending. There's going to
be a goalie on the market.
There's going to be a move coming there because they're going to have 4 healthy goalies.
Yeah, I'm with you. So there you go, man. We both picked Dallas on that one. So that's where our game picks for Saturday, the 11th of December.
Yes. So moving on now, game of the week. Our best game from this upcoming week in the NHL. We're most excited for. Steele, I'll let you go first. Take it away.
All right, I had to go to not quite the Battle of Alberta, but I went with a battle of East and West Canada. So Toronto versus Calgary on the 16th. 2 very hot teams. Calgary playing very well. Toronto playing well. Both goaltenders are playing bloody Vezina level caliber winning goaltenders, with Markstrom with up to 5 shutouts so far this season. Toronto with Campbell and net has been the difference maker for them, and I'm looking for this to be a very, very good game.
Absolutely. That's a great matchup between two of, one of the best teams in the East against one of the best teams in the West, and great goaltending as well. With hopefully we get Markstrom versus Campbell in that matchup.
Yeah, hopefully. But I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I mean, unless there's an injury between now and then, I'm pretty sure that's how that's going to shake down.
Yeah, definitely.
So, John, who do you got? What game do you have for your game of the week? And are you going to be calling it?
No, I'm not going to be calling it, but it is Sunday night. It is Minnesota against Vegas. playoff rematch from that
Ooh,
incredible
yeah.
first-round series last year. Vegas is getting healthier, and they're starting to climb the standings. They've got Pacioretty back. They've got Stone back. They've got
Yep.
Carlson back.
Yep.
They're really starting to climb the standings and make some noise in the Pacific after a rough start. And Minnesota, they're the best in the West right now. First place team in the Western Conference, first place team in the league as of right now with 39 points. And, man, Minnesota's been so impressive. These two teams meeting up, going to be a lot of fun. It was an incredible playoff series last year. I think their regular season matchups this year are going to reflect that. So,
Yeah.
really excited for that Sunday night matchup.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. You should probably consider calling it. But I know, I get it. It's a Sunday night and all that. So, and it'll probably be a late game because it's
it's at 9 p.m.
It's in Vegas. So, okay, I get it. But, oh, my gosh, man. Look, when we saw this matchup last year in the playoffs, this was must-see TV. And guess what? This year, it's must-see TV now because Minnesota has been playing out of their mind and Vegas as well coming back. So, really good games, man. Those are some really good games we have for this week coming up.
Absolutely. So time for our final segment now, one of our favorites where we get to look at the future of the NHL. It's time for Prospect Watch, where we each highlight one prospect for a current NHL team and talk about how they're doing this year, wherever they happen to be playing this year. So let's get into it. Steele, who is your Prospect Watch for this week?
All right. Well, speaking of the aforementioned Seattle Kraken, I'm going with their first round, second overall draft pick in the 2021 draft, and that is Maddie Benair's 19-year-old center who shoots left. He's 6 foot tall, 175 pounds. Guess where he plays?
Michigan.
Michigan. As a sophomore this year, 18 games played, 11 goals, 9 assists for 20 points. He's a plus 14.
Yeah, he's a really good two-way player.
Oh my gosh, this kid. Man, holy moly. He also played in the World Juniors, 7 games. He had 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, and was a plus 3. I think this guy's going to be on the NHL ice way sooner.
I'm hoping next year.
Yeah, because he's a, if I recall, I believe he's a Massachusetts product, ain't he?
Is he?
Yes, he is.
He is? Wow.
Yes, he is.
I've lost track of all the Massachusetts kids.
Everett? Is there an Everett, Massachusetts?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, Maddie Benair is a Massachusetts kid. Holy cow. He didn't end up at, or he's from Hingham.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Hingham, Mass. He didn't end up at one of the Boston schools.
Sorry.
Wow.
That's why you don't know him.
What is he doing? He's from Hingham and he didn't go to BU or BC or Northeastern. Like, he goes to Michigan. All right, buddy. Well, nonetheless, I hope to see him in the NHL with Seattle next year. I loved him going to Seattle at 2 overall. He's a tremendous two-way player. The guys that he was being talked about around before the draft as far as comparisons go, Sean Couturier, Patrice Bergeron, Jonathan Taves, Dylan Larkin,
nice.
like that mold of two-way center who is going to be able to put up points and score, but also be really responsible defensively. He's showing that in college. He's a plus 14, 20 points in 18 games. Really, really excited for this kid.
I am too, and the fact that he looks like a much more of an NHL player than a lower league player for Seattle only bodes well as far as following those Seattle Kraken.
I think he's going to be in Seattle next season.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, my man John, who do you have for your prospect watch?
Another 2021 first-round pick. This is Brennan Othman, 18-year-old left winger. 6 foot tall, 179 pounds. He was drafted in the first round, 16th overall by the New York Rangers in this past draft. Talk about an embarrassment of riches with the young talent that the New York Rangers have. Well, add Brennan Othman to the list. This guy was a first round pick for a reason. And I know there were some people thinking he might have been picked a little bit early. he's going out there to try and prove those people wrong. And the OHL, playing for, I believe he plays for Flint this year. He has got 21 games played, 17 goals, 16 assists, 33 points, and a +1 rating in the OHL. He is playing with the Flint Firebirds and having a great season goal scoring wise, which that's what he is. He is a goal scorer.
Wow.
And he's got 17 goals in 21 games. This guy finds the back of the net. And hopefully sooner rather than later, he's going to be doing that with the New York Rangers as well.
Sure seems like that's gonna be the case. Holy smackers, man! That equates to a 1.27777, I think, goals a game.
Wow.
Yeah, something like that. Quick math, I believe it works out like that. So that's still pretty impressive. Anything over a goal a game, man, that's still impressive as far as I'm concerned. For playing in the OHL, being an 18-year-old. You know what I mean? So be looking forward to him coming up more sooner rather than later to the New York Rangers as well, too. You know what I mean? He will definitely get an invite to camp next year. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be seeing him, and I don't know, we'll see how many years it is before he cracks the Rangers lineup, but he's definitely well on his way and looks like one of their better young prospects here that hasn't already made it to the NHL.
Exactly. So I'm with you, man. Man, I'll tell you what, dude. These last, 6-7 weeks, we have really nailed some awesome prospects.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
It's like we know what we're talking about or something, man,
Maybe a little.
All right, maybe a little. Okay. Give John a lot of credit, man. He really knows what he's talking about. Oh, man. Well, I'll tell you what, my man, another great show. John, Thank you very much for everything that you do. You're part of what helps to make the Steel Flyers All Sport Network go. And, man, we can't do this without you. You got to check John out when he calls the games. You got to follow Off the Wall Hockey. You got to check it out on the web, www.steelflyers.com/link/off-the-wall-hockey. Get all of John's latest, get the latest of these shows, and get everything caught up with John and get caught up with Steel Flyers, man. John, thank you very much. Another great show. Can't wait to do the next one.
Well, thank you as always, Steele. Really, really appreciate it. And that brings us now to the end of episode 47, the Off the Wall Hockey Show. It's a hockey show for hockey fans, part of the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. You can check out everyone at Steel Flyers work at www.steelflyers.com. This show is proudly brought to you by Manscaped. Don't forget to use the promo code OTWH for 20% off and free shipping on your next Manscaped order. Go to www.manscaped.com. Go through all of their tremendous products that you have to check out. Pick what you want, and when you're at checkout, make sure that you X away that little gift promo that they have going on and use OTWH so that we will get credited with your order. And that really does help out the channel and Steel Flyers a lot. So
for sure. And you still get the same 20% discount.
Yeah, it's the exact same discount, 20% in free shipping. So you are not getting anything different. It just helps us out when you use OTWH.
Exactly.
But that is going to bring us to the end of this one, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Would not be here without you. And we'll have a whole new week of NHL action to talk about coming up next week for episode 48. But
can't wait.
I can't wait either. But that's going to bring us to the end here of episode 47. Thank you guys again. Have a great weekend. Hopefully I'll be talking to you all very, very soon. And with that, see you next time.